The Forgotten Kingdom is the newest DLC for Remnant 2, and after having a week to play, here is my opinion on the DLC and whether it's worth trying out. For those who are new to Remnant 2 and aren't familiar with the game, Remnant 2 is a sequel to the successful Remnant from the Ashes. It's a third-person Souls-like shooter set in a procedurally generated world. You play as a traveller, someone who is just trying to survive in the world after the root began to devastate Earth and other systems. Through the use of the world stones, you traverse different realities and worlds in an attempt to end the root infestation. The Forgotten Kingdom DLC is an addition to the main game that can appear in place of the other two world formats for the root-infested world of Yeisha. Much like with the previous DLC, The Awakened King, the Forgotten Kingdom brought along a whole arsenal of new items to acquire. Not just within the new world of the Forgotten Kingdom, but also across all the other worlds available in the game. The exact amount of items added is unclear, but from all the runs I've done so far, the amount of items added in the DLC is exponential, compared to the previous DLC, The Awakened King. Several weapons, mutators, mods, relics, armor sets, amulets and rings were added into the DLC, and after the amount I've played of the DLC, I know that I've barely scratched the surface of the amount of items you can acquire. Alongside all of the new items introduced with the DLC, we also received the new Invoker archetype. Invoker is an elemental-based subclass that focuses on bending the fabric of the very world around to help deal damage and heal allies. The Invoker is a highly powerful archetype that can pair amazingly with so many of the other archetypes in the game, and has some insane build capabilities, the likes of which I'll be exploring and making videos for, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss them. The new area of the Forgotten Kingdom is a stunning addition to Remnant 2. The landscape is noticeably more vibrant than the other world formats for Yeisha. Visually, this area is stunning and can be easily differentiated from the other overworlds. In addition to this, some of the other interior areas are also true spectacles. One of my favourites being the side dungeon, the Infested Abyss. This area shows you the root's deep infestation underneath Yeisha, and when I first looked out at the view, I was stunned by how incredible the sight was. The atmosphere throughout this entire DLC constantly had me on the edge of my seat from how amazing it was. At first glance, this DLC offers more than the previous DLC, The Awakened King, and lives up to the high standard that Gunfire Games have set for themselves and this game. The story you follow throughout the DLC is one of the most enjoyable out of all the different world formats within the game, in my opinion. And much like the other world formats, there are multiple endings that can be done to obtain different items. Usually there are 2 endings, however in the DLC, there are 3 endings that can be done, 2 of which will reward you with the same boss loot but will have altered cutscenes and story elements. The boss fights in this DLC were some of the most unique and interesting bosses I've come across in Remnant 2, my favourite of which being the Stone Warden boss. Each of these 3 main bosses added their own unique challenges and movesets, giving any veteran Remnant 2 player an enjoyable experience. Whilst the difficulty isn't extreme with the DLC, there is definitely a noticeable increase in the challenge across the board, even at the lower difficulties, and I absolutely love this. Most of the player base will have already found powerful builds that help them walk through Nightmare or even Apocalypse difficulty with relative ease, and so the increase in challenge is something I feel is necessary for a game like this. The previous DLC, The Awakened King, felt a lot easier in comparison to the Forgotten Kingdom, so I'm glad that Gunfire Games upped the difficulty and made a very in-depth balance update to go along with the DLC. Now, in my previous review surrounding The Awakened King, I had an entire section dedicated to talking about the glitches that came along with the DLC. However, in this video, that won't be the case. This DLC was shipped so well that there have been little to no glitches that I have found. The only one was an issue where the Invoker subclass would disappear from my character, even when it was equipped, but after restarting the game, it seemed to have disappeared entirely. In the current world we live in, it's relatively rare that a game or DLC is released with little to no glitches, and that goes to show how dedicated and thorough Gunfire Games are when it comes to Remnant 2, and also how much they've improved since The Awakened King. This DLC has been an absolute blast, and it's been so amazing to hop back into Remnant 2. I would say that for me, this is currently the best DLC that Gunfire Games have released for their game, and with how much they've improved since The Awakened King, I am now even more excited to see what they do with the third DLC, which we can expect to be based around Narood, an area that I believe needs a bit of a revamp with a whole new overworld. At a price packet of £8.39 in the UK, I strongly believe that this DLC is worth all of that and more. This DLC is honestly a great addition to Remnant 2, and the weapons brought along with it are some of the best we've seen, with Monolith immediately becoming one of my favourites, along with it being one of the strongest weapons they've added due to its insane mod. If you're a veteran Remnant 2 player who's been thinking about whether they should get the DLC or not, or you're new to the world of Remnant 2 and are unsure as to whether you should get the DLC, then I would genuinely say that this is worth it. If I was to score it out of 10, I would genuinely be giving it a 10 out of 10. This DLC provides hours of new gameplay along with so many new items that you'll be wanting to go across the system to find, providing even more reasons to replay the story multiple times. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe, it really helps me out massively. Let me know down in the comments below what your favourite moment from the DLC was, or any fun incidences that happened during your time playing. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Deli, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay classy, guys. Peace.